Hello, beautiful and beloved ones. And I do mean that. All of you watching are my beloved ones. Now, this is Lorelei, by the way, from the Tightrope to 5D Music Reactions. And if you wonder about that strange title, stick around to the end. I'm going to give you a special message about this historic shift from third dimensional consciousness to fifth dimensional consciousness. But first, we're going to start with a reaction to Nightwish, Devil and the Deep Dark Ocean. Devil and the Deep Dark Ocean. Here we go.
Okay, so we'll give you this nice little piece. It's called Devil and the Deep Dark Ocean.
There she is, flinging her hair again. And again, look at the effects. Unbelievable. I think she likes that because the blood rushes to your head and it kind of gives you a high, you know? Here we go. By the way, like my video, like theirs later, it's in the notes, and subscribe.
A snowy owl above the haunted waters, poet tell the ancient gods, Christ to tell the never-ending story, prophecy of becoming floods.
The Nora mysteries Atlanta, the leading brightest ride, soon the incarnation before the creator of the night.
Look at that fire behind them. Holy cow.
Deep dark is majesty's kingdom, pulling on the morrow's world. Let of the liquid, giving power, the red iron bombard.
The human race of the blood red water, the creator of infinite blue, style to master this earth, carving all the new fire and snow.
I would die for the love of the mermaid, the seduction, beauty, and scorn. Welcome to the end of your life, hail the ocean born.
Disgraceful spot for Jimmy, death was spoken by wedding tracks. All great new breed, the modern dew for you are the creator of the image of God.
Right now all rest is sweet, when we here in the deep.
I prayed for pleasure, wish for love, prayed for
Life for me.
Who the hell are you for me? An immortal dream to see. Leave me be, leave me be, leave me just for me.
Well, they certainly got this devil thing down. What was going on that wall back there? I wanted to see that again. Something weird going on. Let's see.
Prayed for life for me. Who the hell are you for me? An immortal dream to see. Leave me be, leave me be, leave me just for me.
Looks like it's got blood stains or something. Ooh, I don't know if that's right, but yikes. By the way, put some comment down below this if you know anything about this song or what it's, you know, where it comes from or anything like that. Look at them playing. Oh my goodness. They're just going crazy there. Let's go back a little.
wickedness. Be your passion.
Okay, what is she saying? We shall come to set something free. We shall come. Suddenly the mood is shifted to this, like there's some kind of a new thing coming, like someone's coming to pull us out of this or something. Tell me what it says. Let's go back a little and hear that. At that change there.
Shall my wickedness be your passion?
Thank you so much. Wow.
Oh, I need to know the words there, guys. I need to know the ending there, because I was getting pretty, like, low about how dark all this was. And then she comes at the end and she says, we shall come and set somebody or something free. So the whole tone of it changes at the end, oh my goodness. I mean, really, this is like, it was really, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Like, again, it's another spectacle, an unbelievable spectacle, but it's, about the devil, about the darkness, about the, all that yuckiness and the fire and everything. And then suddenly at the end, she comes setting people free. So I'd love to hear setting something free. I'd love to hear what you guys know about that. And as far as my scale, I'm going to do it with this one. My scale is like 1 being very third dimensional: fear, pain, sadness, anger, trauma, torture, torment, all that stuff that was in there. That's third dimension, all that fire and everything else. And fifth dimensional being love, peace, joy, bliss, abundance. And it looks like we were moving toward the end. Someone's going to come, something's going to interject and shift all that horrible stuff, right? That's what we're moving toward in the end there. And the vibration, you could feel like all that, low, that like kind of angry kind of vibe through the whole thing until we got to the end there. So it is moving. It's looking to move in that direction, but a largesse of it is kind of that darkness. And I understand we want to show it so we can show what we're moving away from into something different, and that is fifth dimension. So I'm going with like a 6 on this one because it is moving in that direction, but there is a lot of low vibrational energy in there too. So, but it wants to move us. It wants to have us learn, have us begin something different. So it's great. All right. So let me go to my message, which I kind of catered. I knew this would be a little devilish here, so I catered it. So what is the devil or Satan really? And how do we defeat that? We could call it him, her, or it, right? But first, before I do that, I forgot to say, if you want to know about me, you can go to the About Me video here on this on this channel, and that'll direct you to a longer video about my sort of forged in the fire journey of third dimension. And also you can go to the description on YouTube and drop down to About Lorelei on Patreon for some of the things I'm creating that you might want to get involved in. So what is the devil or Satan really, and how do we defeat him, her, it, whatever it is, right? Don't even know what to call it, in terms of that, because so let's just think about the beginning where we started, okay? And here we are, like the God spark has come forth and said, here I am, let there be light, and begun to break off into parts so there would be, camaraderie and companionship that this one would have. We'll call it the prime creator. And those beings were also beings of light, love and light and all of this. And they're creating planets and creating things all together, having a joyful and wonderful time, creating, different expressions of worlds, And at some point, people are just, they're just not people. There's not people yet, but the beings are in joy and bliss and love and all of that. But after many, many, probably thousands, maybe millions of years of this, there's like this question. Well, what else is there? Yeah, because it gets a little boring, doesn't it? I mean, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful space. But after millions of years, you kind of can see how you'd get bored and you want to do something else. What else is there that we could possibly do? And this was when they came up with the idea of, what if we were separate? What if we could play a sort of a game? What if there were a game where we could actually have experiences where we were separated from the creator, where we didn't know the creator, we didn't know our power, we didn't know how amazing light beings we were. We would be separated from the creator. And this whole idea brought a whole wave of stuff. You had to have planets, and you thought about what kind of beings would be on there, and how could sort of spirits come down, but not the whole God spark, because the God spark can't totally, even an archangel or whatever can't inhabit such a low vibration. So how could you step down, and have aspects sort of going in to inhabit and experience these lives, while the higher selves could kind of get some feeling of it as well, without getting swooped down in there, which is impossible for a high vibration being, and, they came up with third dimensional planets that could be this place for that. Not just ours, whole lots of them. And then they said, well, there's got to be, because we kind of know ourselves to be wonderful and loving and light and joy, but there has to be something else that will allow people to experience something different. Something that is not the light. Something, for lack of a better word, that is kind of darkness, because they'd have to experience some darkness in order to be separated from the creator. You're not just going to experience all the light, you're going to have to experience some darkness. So one archangel steps up to the table, and he says, I will take on the job of bringing darkness to the beings. Okay, they say, that's great. And then when we're done with the game, you can come back and we'll go back to love and light and everything else. And this archangel's name was, as we understand it, Lucifer. So Lucifer goes off and begins to experiment in how he can bring darkness. And guess what? He kind of gets pretty darn good at it. He kind of gets pretty darn good in going into these various planets where there's third dimensional living and bringing evil, okay? And doing things that are evil. And this spreads and grows and spreads and grows and grows and all that. And in fact, till this being who was an angel, archangel of light, forgets even that he ever was that. Doesn't even know that he was that, and is literally swooped up in bringing other people on board also not people, individuals, beings. Some could be people, to do the evil in the dark and spreading the evil in the dark, and gets really into it, right? Just really forgets all about being that archangel. So then, after many, many, who knows how many years, millions or whatever, I don't know how long actually beings have been experimenting in this separation, this third dimensional thing, it becomes that almost you don't even need to have that archangel anywhere around. There is such a swirl of consciousness in the world of darkness, in the world of evil, that consciousness alone is enough, right? Don't even need to have Lucifer come and do anything. That consciousness is just spreading and growing and spreading and growing and spreading and growing. And that's what happens on this particular planet. In fact, is we just fall so low and so into 3D, so deeply inset. So that consciousness is just all around us and everywhere. Now, has Lucifer gone back to the light? I don't think so. Will he ever at some point? We don't really know, right? But we can't worry about that right now, because now we just got, even if you could almost see the devil. This is the devil. This consciousness is the devil. Even if Lucifer's not around anywhere, this consciousness is the devil, and it has a life of its own and everything else. So then how do we get out of that? How do we undo that? How do we move away from that? Well, we need to understand the devil as a consciousness. And even inside of this one, Lucifer, this dark consciousness that's just so deeply inset, right? Since he started playing that game and he forgot, right? This just a consciousness. This devil thing is a consciousness. And it's a dark consciousness. It's very dark, right? So how do we offset, or how do we overcome the dark? Quite obviously, we overcome it with the light. We overcome it with the light. Can that dark consciousness even exist if there's so much of a light consciousness? So much love, so much joy, so much bliss, so much euphoria, so much brotherhood, so much kindness, so much compassion, and literally light, like the light shining in any dark areas, bringing forth anything that is of the darkness, which is happening now on our planet, by the way, and bringing it to the light. Like that darkness literally at some point is not even going to be able to survive. And maybe that's someday the access for this one who's so swooped himself in darkness to come back to the light. And let somebody else go do that for a while, maybe, if that's even needed anymore, because it may not, because so much of that consciousness is out in these third dimensional areas. Let that one come back and forget it, kind of like we all need to forget. It's important that we forget even that darkness even existed. You see, when we didn't even know of it, we were doing fine, having wonderful lives, because everybody really, when you look at it, every soul, every spirit is originally of the light, right? We didn't even know that. There was nothing of that going on because we didn't even know it. So now it's time we forget it. Now, that's going to take a little time, right? But how do we do that? I talked in my last video, putting the focus on the goodness, putting the focus on things that are of the light, putting the focus on things that are of love. And eventually, I promise you, because we're moving in that direction, we've passed the point of no return. Eventually, we'll be saying to our grandchildren, we're going to live a lot longer, first of all. Great-grandchildren will be going, there was a time when these people were hurting each other. And they'll be like, what? We'll say like, yeah, there was a time a lot of people were hurt. What? Grandpa, grandma, I think you should go, go somewhere else. Because, that never happened. You're telling a tale. That's crazy, So I wouldn't say they'd call their grandma or grandpa a doddering old person, but that could be what they're thinking at the time, right? Because it's really coming. It's really going to happen. So we can facilitate that forgetfulness. We want that forgetfulness. We don't want to remember all of these horrible things. Now, of course, we have to remember them enough right now as we're in the swirl of it to begin to clean it up. Every now and then I do my little part. This morning I sent a message to the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi, and I said, can you please, take care of this really terrible situation where this person's been put in jail for woke reasons that he didn't do anything, right? So I sent that. Okay, that's my little bit for the day, And now I'm on about being of the light, being of the love, making my videos, telling my messages, playing with the cat, going outside, all of that. So it's really the way that we get rid of that devil that is shown in this video is we take the focus off of it. And that's the saving that. Even I would argue that this one is speaking of how we get saved is we take the focus off of it and we put the focus on the light which disallows any of that to even exist. Okay, beloved ones, that's my message for today. I'm sending you this beautiful love, the light, just tons and tons and tons of light to dispel any darkness out there, any darkness in your lives, just getting rid of it. Oop, the kitty cat, he's about to rip my headset off. Here we go, sending you the light, sending you the love. Namaste. I honor the God in you.